You're listening to Radio Flange Goblet, and sadly, our usually scheduled programme, It's All in the Ankles, Marjorie, had to be postponed due to a situation where all the cast died of an ego overdose at an all-you-can-molest blancmange weighing contest in the foyer of a Super 8 motel in Indiana. There was also an unofficial rumour that a breed of hairy pig was plucked in a ceremonial presentation to the god of length, Alan Smimblipinch. So, our apologies, we are again presenting an episode of the After Movie Diner in its place. We completely understand if you tune into Where Have All My Fingers Gone?, hosted by Lionel Turgid on Radio Whoop Whoop Girth Rupture instead.
You're listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, John Cross.
On this episode of the After Movie Diner, we are exceptionally pleased to have back on the show returning champion and longtime savant comic book master, David DeMoss. That's correct. The DeMoss Meister is back from And You Thought It Was Safe, his phenomenal YouTube and blog series over at aytiws.com. That's aytiws.com. Also follow him on Twitter at aytiws. David is an absolute master of reviewing, has an exceptional insight, and is also a huge comic book and movie fan, so he is able to fill in the comic book blanks where I am just rambling off about the movie. He has been on many shows before. We've covered most of the Marvel Universe with him, and today is no exception. We're talking Captain Marvel. So let's take it away with the one, the only, Sir David DeMoss. And I was actually surprised. I mean, please don't be offended by this, but I was actually surprised to find that we had covered Black Panther. I had completely forgotten that.
I didn't, but that's okay. Nobody will remember this in 6 months either. I mean, that's just how things go now. Nobody has any memories anymore. It's just all down the hole.
No, because I was suddenly like, because I felt like we should probably do sort of a little bit of a recap to sort of build into Captain Marvel. And
then you saw our last date that we talked here in the thing here. And
I was like, oh, wait. And then I looked up on the After Movie Diner website feed, which I'm literally on every day, so you think I would know. And I'm like, oh, wait, we did cover Black Panther. So it looks like the only movies we haven't done we didn't. Did we do Spider-Man Homecoming? We didn't, did we?
No, we touched on it in the Black Panther episode.
Okay.
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was, but I mean, yeah.
And I felt exactly the same way, though a bit more enthusiastically, because of course I'm the fanboy here.
Yeah, and I have to say I'm looking less forward to National Lampoon's Spider-Man European Vacation.
Hey, long as they, as far as I'm concerned, long as they keep away from the obvious well-trodden ground that they could go down, I'm happy.
Yeah, as long as they don't touch down in London and everyone isn't wearing, like, bowler hats with rolled-up umbrellas being like, tally-ho, what a pip-pip, time for tea. Hey, as long as they don't do that, I'll be okay.
Maybe it's a backdoor pilot. Maybe they'll bring Captain Britain in there finally.
Oh, well, now that I would be excited about. As long as my feeling about Spider-Man Far From Home is as long as there's an Eric Idle cameo. That's really where I'm at. We didn't do Guardians from the Galaxy 2 either, right? That was the other one?
No. I don't think. I think we did a bit of a recap in the Black Panther episode, getting up to that.
Black Panther. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Homecoming we covered in Black Panther. Thank you for remembering that. So in order to bring us up to Captain Marvel, I guess we should talk about Infinity War.
Why? This is thing one. Why though? Because it's a prequel.
True, but I just meant just so that probably because at this point we won't do a podcast about every single Marvel movie that comes out going forward, but we should like we did with Black Panther, just kind of touch on a couple of the others. And because I did rewatch Infinity War and Thor Ragnarok, which is the other one,
Yes.
which both play into Captain Marvel, but also don't go anywhere near Captain Marvel at all. And I have to say, at this point, I'm completely confused. Like in Infinity War, for example, everyone walks around going, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you in ages," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, weren't you just doing this thing in Ant-Man, or weren't you just doing this thing in Avengers 2, or weren't you just doing the idea that they all walk around being like, well, we haven't seen each other in years. I'm like, well, we just saw you, like it was just out in the theater. So I think at this point I'm completely confused by the timeline.
It's because the Avengers movies, like the comics so often do, they do move in real time, and
Right.
So apparently, whenever these characters aren't on screen, it's not like their lives stop. Apparently, everybody, and really like. The Earth-based continuity has grown so distant because Marvel Studios itself has really stopped paying attention to it. That's not where the real money from the movie is made, or if it is, it's not where. I mean, look, Guardians 1 completely threw them for a loop. They had no idea that would be half as successful as it was. And so ever since, we've seen the gradual leaking in of the cosmic into the rest of the universe. And I honestly couldn't be happier, because God knows, Earth is boring.
See, whereas I think I'm probably slightly different in the fact that while I loved Guardians, I enjoyed Thor Ragnarok, especially the second time. I really enjoyed it. It's far more inventive. I just didn't like it in terms of storyline, because essentially it doesn't take us anywhere, like in the grand scheme of things. And I sort of have a little issue with Captain Marvel in that regard as well, although at least it's setting up a character. Thor Ragnarok was sort of a filler, and I think I went in expecting more story building, and in fact just got this kind of fun, inventive movie, and I think it plays much better the second time. So Thor Ragnarok I definitely enjoyed more the second time, because I wasn't caring so much about, they reintroduced Loki, and I was like, wait, what? And then then there's a sister, then she's going to destroy Asgard, and all this sort of stuff. I understand it was like a standalone movie, but all this other stuff.
A one-shot, we would call it. Yes.
Yeah, a one-shot, yeah. And at this point, I think that just surprised me, because every single other movie has sort of played so heavily into the other movies.
Indeed, yes, indeed.
And I mean, except maybe Guardians 2, I guess. Guardians 2 sort of... a little bit, but the one thing I did want to talk about, the only reason I brought up the sort of movies that play into Captain Marvel, the one thing that I wanted to pick your brain about was in Infinity War mainly. I mean, my quick capsule review of Thor Ragnarok was it's super enjoyable, super funny. It's kind of all the things you want it to be, as you say, for like a one shot. And it definitely continues the trend, as you quite eloquently pointed out, that Marvel has moved into space and is less and less interested with Earth at this point. And that may also, not only to do with the success of these films, and indeed just the characters that they're pulling out for Phase 4 or Phase 5 or whatever phase this is at this point. 4. It's also, they get to avoid the criticism that Avengers 1 and Superman Man of Steel came under, which of course is destructo porn. If you're not on Earth and you're not tearing down well-known skyscrapers and monuments and killing real people and real humans, you can't quite have the death toll that these movies like to have. Thor Ragnarok, for example, you can kill as many Asgardians as you like, or as many zombie skull pre-Thor Asgardian, Army of Darkness monsters as you like. Just please don't kill any actual humans, sort of thing. Infinity War goes there a little bit at the beginning, but then decamps for various different places around the universe. So let's...
And before winding up in the hills of central Georgia, playing Africa.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, and that's the other thing, is that Wakanda, as much as it's a place in Africa, plays very much like... Asgard of the Earth. In other words, it plays very much like a fantasy realm. It's not played quite. It's not like New York being destroyed, and I don't mean that in the sense that.
No, I know what. Yes,
you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. Yes. Nothing worse than brick dust in a modern sci-fi action movie, apparently.
Yeah, no, I just mean that you come under less criticism from people to be like, hey, can we stop destroying New York because of the, like, I don't know, whether it's the 9/11 thing, whether it's the destructo porn, whether it's the fact that real humans are being hurt, or whether it's just because it's tired and done and they did it at the end of Avengers.
It's because we don't have enough giant monster movies in, the American film has not made as many giant monster movies as they should have.
No, but we have got Godzilla, King of the Monsters or whatever coming out, which I'm so excited about.
Oh no! God damn it! I'm saying the fanboy prayer.
And I'm excited about it for one reason and one reason only, and that is because the Kong Skull Island, while I absolutely didn't give two shits for 90% of the human characters until John C. Reilly showed up, but all the human characters were horrible ciphers, and Hiddleston and fucking Brie Larson were just awful and bland and awful and terrible. But
talk about a filler picture, yes.
Yeah. But when Kong started, having massive fights, I just fucking enjoyed the hell out of that. So if Godzilla King of the Monsters is just going to be a bunch of enormous fights, then I'm down for that.
We'll see. Like I said, I'm doing what I always do, saying the fanboy prayer, please God, don't let it suck.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, that's all you can do.
And I suppose if anything gets too bad, 11 from Stranger Things can just levitate shit, right?
Or Watanabe can develop any number of superpowers, which I'm
just have him in there as whatever. And one more thing on sort of like trailers.
Become host to a size-changing alien of some description, perhaps, but. That would be a whole other.
Just as long as he's in there doing his thing, I'm happy. The other thing, I don't know if you've seen the trailer for the the spin-off we didn't know we wanted and yet we can't help ourselves, Hobbs and Shaw. Apparently
saw it in front of this film, in fact.
Right,
yes.
Exactly. So what's hilarious about Hobbs and Shaw is that for years and years and years people have been saying that the Fast and Furious franchise has basically become a superhero franchise and has basically become, everyone is indestructible unless they happen to die in real life, of course. Or they go on to a more successful franchise like Wonder Woman, in the case of Gal Gadot. But outside of that, everyone is sort of indestructible, and certainly the Rock and Statham have been. So who is the villain of Hobbs and Shaw? Oh, it's Idris Elba, but it's Idris Elba who is apparently a super improved human who is bulletproof. Well, of course, that's who he's going to be. And
right?
I'm telling you, by Fast 10, they're in fucking space. I'm telling you, they're in space. By Fast and Furious 10, Vin Diesel is in fucking space. I guarantee it at this point.
I honestly, to see them, if they could steal one of Elon Musk's rockets and strap some miniguns to it or something.
Fuck yes.
You might actually get me on board. I mean,
yes.
That would be, For years and years, it's been the superhero franchise for people who were too cool for this school of filmmaking or of genre. And they've finally given up the ghost. It's remarkable to see, and at the same time, though, I'm kind of sad just because I've been thinking about the alternate universe where everything still looked like Fast and Furious 1.
Right,
And
where jacking DVD players was the worst thing you could do.
Exactly. And now it's like, and now they'd be like jacking, I don't know, VR headsets or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, now The Rock is, tearing Gatling guns off the tops of drones and shooting down helicopters with it, and Vin Diesel and Jason Statham are literally punching through a collapsing parking garage. Like, the whole thing has just become ridiculous. I mean, there was a movie where they were hitting each other repeatedly with iron bars and getting up afterwards. I mean, it's the last movie, I think the Vin Diesel, The Rock, lent out of a car that was driving along ice. I think it was like a Jeep or something, which wouldn't last 30 seconds on fucking ice. Leans out of a Jeep, grabs a fucking nuclear warhead and, like, hurls it at some guy. Like, that's where we're at in this franchise. So I'm fully prepared for Idris Superman Elba.
You have, yes, you've got, I was going to say, you've gotten up to Chris Claremont late 80s X-Men levels.
Yeah, right.
At this point, yeah. So yes, I welcome it. I say, bring it on. More power to all of them. Let them all increase exponentially.
Yeah, and I think that with the Marvel, bring it back on the Marvel track, I think that with Marvel going into space, on one hand, you know me, I'm a Star Trek guy versus a Star Wars guy. I'm not, and I only use that as a very convenient, fan-friendly divide. I understand that there is crossover in both things in terms of sci-fi versus fantasy, but I just use it as a kind of convenient dividing line, because I do like superhero movies and I do like fantasy films on some level, but there's a sort of Lord of the Rings, Star Wars-y fantasy type thing that I just, for whatever reason, just doesn't speak to me. But the Star Trek of it all, the exploring space, the finding new worlds, the weird aliens and monsters
new
and
civilizations,
and fights, and I like the creativity of it all, and I like the inventiveness of it all, and I thought that Ragnarok definitely had that in spades, which I really enjoyed. They
finally got the guts to go full Jack Kirby.
Oh yeah, full blown Ragnarok and Guardians 1.
Full Walt Simonson, I should say, as well. A lot of that movie, a lot of Ragnarok is just panels from his comics, especially if you turn the subtitles on. It really helps.
Also, I mean, it makes me laugh, but you think about Kubrick mounting 2001. 35 years ago, 40 years ago, whenever that was, and all he had to do and all he had to build and put together and work to kind of get some of those visuals and get some of those effects. And now you look at something like the budget of Ragnarok and what they're able to do, and what they're able to design and what they're able to build. You can only imagine if some of those inventive filmmakers had been around or were around to see the dawn of all this sort of these enormous budgets and this enormous design and stuff like that, just what they would kind of achieve. But I really like what Taika Waititi did with it. I love the design of that. I think he focused correctly with a very thin story. He focused correctly on the art direction, the comedy, and the characters, which I think are the sort of three things that play out well in that movie versus the plot, which is sort of more or less throwaway to some extent.
More or less, yes. Though it had I liked it because it finally addressed a pretty much giant glaring hole in this particular Marvel universe, which is that the piece of Asgard that Odin forged was really just a thin veneer to hide a whole bunch of ugly shit. Like, the universe seems, nobody's really, the fucking dark elves aren't invading every other week. But at the same time, the universe seems full of space pirates, egoists, warlords, deathmongers, and just straight up, just the worst kind of imperialist, scummy civilizations you can imagine. And and Thor Ragnarok actually directly laid that at the proper feet. at Anthony Hopkins' golden feet and was like, here you go, buddy, and making his son have to deal with it.
Yeah, and I thought, if you can't have a gripping story, at least have a great message. And behind every
somebody's got to talk about imperialism.
Right, completely. No, but behind every empire or every power structure, be it now benevolent or not, depending on your experience, your politics, and your race and your gender, most often, depending on that, behind every empire there is utterly hideous death, war, destruction, and egomaniacal bullshit. I come from a country, England, that even growing up in the 80s, there was there'll always be an England and God Save the Queen and all that kind of stuff, and the stirring music and the blah, 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 blah. And it all comes out of a country that less than 100 years before I was born was going around the world massacring people, clubbing them over the head and taking their lands, merely so that they could, do more trade and accrue more power. So there's this interesting thing of sort of the death of an empire and the dying of the light, and there's something kind of romantic and poetic about it, but at the same time there's a no, this needs to be shut the fuck down because it's born on the backs of violence and slavery and all the bad shit.
Fruit of the poison tree. And now that it has been, we have the potential for something maybe interesting to happen with when the major linchpin of a power structure is removed. Suddenly, everybody else starts to remember all of their, pre-existing interscene conflicts, and all sorts of wonderful stuff can happen.
If only
there is no actual end of history.
But if only Thanos hadn't shown up at the beginning of Infinity War and wiped out everyone on that spaceship,
or wiped out, and God knows how many he wiped out on the benevolent police state, fascist planet of Nova Prime before he got there. Like, he already had the one stone, so John C. Reilly and his hot pink wife and their little baby pink daughter, they're probably all dead. Glenn Close probably dead. The Nova Corps, that what we saw of them, I don't know if anybody's really that attached to them, having only seen the film, but they're probably all dead too. And I'd be amazed if that doesn't stick.
Again, I think that comes from me forgetting exactly what I remember the end of Guardians 1, but forgetting that there was what stone was left on there.
That was the purple stone. That was the that was the Power Stone. And he starts the
movie with that. Okay, right.
That. So while the Guardians were off dealing with Star-Lord's dad. We can imagine. I guess that's when that happened. I don't know. I imagine there's a tie-in comic somewhere that I'm not paying attention to.
Yeah. So the thing that I wanted to bring up with a little bit on Ragnarok, but mostly with Infinity War, and it does play into Captain Marvel, was to ask you some questions, because the thing that Infinity War does more than anything, and I understand that it's the magic trick where they're all being like, look over here, look over here, look over here, and everyone's going to die and it's going to be a tragedy and blah 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 blah, which I don't believe for a second. The
couldn't even stop themselves. They couldn't even play up their own kayfabe for a year, because they're sorry. Yes.
But no. But in the build up to it, there are sort of lots of questions. Especially with the powers that both Strange exhibits and Thor exhibits in Ragnarok. It feels like in Infinity War, their powers are like not as strong and subdued and so on. Maybe not Thor's to such extent, because obviously he goes off to the Dinklage planet and forges a new weapon and all the rest of it, and does show up with his lightning going all over the place and stuff. But like Strange especially, we've already established that if a porthole is closed, whether it is a strange porthole or whether it is the Bifrost porthole or whatever, that it will slice through someone's arm, or in the case of Ragnarok, it's a monster's head. But like in the fight in New York at the beginning, that's filmed in that park in Atlanta that now everybody uses for
every park in New York,
Madison Square Park. Yeah, it's used at the end of Anchorman 2 as well. And I'm like, wait, they just rolled onto the set of Anchorman 2 when they're fighting the spindly dude at the beginning on the streets of New York. They established that like if he puts a portal around like someone's wrist and stuff, it'll slice their arm off, right? We've also got to a point where I'm not quite sure exactly who's capable of what in terms of strength, right? Because, you know, Thor is a god, technically, and I know they don't go spiritual and whatever, but Thor's a god. I mean...
Their mistake, right? Yeah.
Right, I would assume he was immortal, but maybe not. But unless attacked by another god, like at least it makes sense when Hela hits him, because you're like, well, that's another god hitting another god. Okay, I'll buy that.
And she's the she's the eldest anyway. So,
right.
Yes.
So she can take his eye. I'll accept that as sort of a power level. But you know, the Hulk seems to be more or less indestructible, but then. The Thor can fight the Hulk and win if it wasn't for like the subduing electrical pulse thing. And that's another thing. Like, wait a minute, an electrical pulse that's devised by some guy who lives on a scrap heap, that can take down a god, but then like all that kind of stuff starts to bother me. You know what I mean? Because I'm kind of like, well, you have to start at least. Here's a good example. At least with Superman, you go, the green shiny stone takes away his powers. You go, fine, got it, great. Someone comes at him with a green shiny stone, no more Superman. Yep. Got it, right, great. With all these other ones, as we keep establishing them, and this plays into Captain Marvel as well, because I've heard people go, well, Captain Marvel, she's the most powerful, being in the Marvel universe. And I'm like, well... But all she does is absorb some of the Tesseract, and you know, so it all becomes confusing to me in terms of.
Sounds like somebody ain't read enough Phoenix Force.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't read. This is the whole point. I'm a movie fan. You're the comic book fan, so that's why I come to you, the altar of comic book knowledge, and say. First of all, why didn't Strange just open a portal around Thanos' arm and remove the gauntlet that way? Secondly, because
then the movie would be over. Yes,
right. In the same way that they don't have Thor appear, because the movie, I would assume the movie would be over because Thor seems to be able to take on just about anything. In fact,
should have aimed for the hand. Should have gone for the hand.
Then there's a bit at the beginning of Thor Ragnarok where Thor is like, I've been traveling throughout the galaxies looking for Infinity Stones. I didn't find any. And you're like, what? Wait a minute. Thanos seems to find them all incredibly easy, and you're a fucking god. Not only that, but you've been throughout the 9 realms for your entire life, fighting and traveling and making peace and doing all this other stuff. Like, and you don't know where the Infinity Stones are? One of them was in Asgard's vault, for fuck's sake. So, like,
you couldn't get drunk at one bar and overhear somebody being like, hey, you hear about that shit that happened on Xandar? Yeah, right. A human held an Infinity Stone and managed to not die through the power of friendship, apparently.
Right. Oh, yeah. Now you're reminding me. Right. The end with the dance-off and the holding the purple stone and they all come together and da-da-da-da-da. Right, yeah, completely.
Yes. Immediately retconned in the next scene to be, a question of, other Peter's heritage, but whatever.
Right. The fact that his, ego is his father. But so there's the problem with Infinity War that I had was while Thanos has been scattered throughout the movies leading up to it, there's no establishing for me, unless I'm, again, completely forgetting it because we're 10 years in at this point, and I don't go back and watch these movies like every week to remind myself. But, like, where is Thanos from and who is Thanos and how come Thanos is so powerful compared to, like, he's not a god, right? Or is he a god on, like, another planet?
He's just a dude.
Just
dude
a
from
big
planet
purpley.
Titan.
Right. Just a big purpley dude.
Yep.
So how come he can like wield supreme executive power over the gauntlet and all that other stuff?
Because because that's been his singular purpose ever since he decided on he settled on his particular. Well, okay, in the comics, it's because he's literally trying to fuck Death. Death be a hottie, and she won't talk to him, so he decides to kill everybody. In the movie, he seems to have settled upon basically sort of Malthusian eugenicist ideology. And, say what you want about the tenets of Malthusian eugenics, it's still an ideology. And that immediately puts him ahead.
That was phenomenal. Did you just pull that Big Lebowski reference out of your ass, or have you written that down previously?
I wrote that down previously.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you. But still, that puts him ahead of 90% of the villains in this universe. He has an actual, he has an actual goal. And, he makes a plan and he follows through.
Well, he's Kaiser Soze.
Yeah, exactly.
His whole point is, if you don't hold the sentimentality of life, if you are willing to sacrifice everything that you are, then that is wielding supreme power. I mean, that's what Kaiser Soze does. He kills all of his family instead of watching them become enslaved or whatever by these bad guys. He's like, I'd rather kill all my family than have you do it, whatever. And that's kind of, and the problem with Infinity War is that it's an entire series of scenes where Thanos shows up and goes, kill this person, or I'll get the stone and I'll fuck off and get more stones. And every single person is like, no, it's, we don't let anyone die, and blah, 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 which at this point is such a bullshit, moralizing incorrectness in these comic book movies, because they, like I said before, they have no problem everyone else in the galaxy dying. Their only thing is they don't want any Earth people to die. And yet Earth people, probably compared to the rest of the people in the galaxy, are probably the least worth in terms of morals, in terms of we're all just bastards. We probably all deserve to die. But
I don't know about that. But then again, I actually read superhero comics and have imbibed some a bit of the philosophy about the inherent value of all life, and as an end unto itself. But then again, that's me, and that's more than most of these motherfuckers can say. They haven't gotten to that quite yet. I mean, Captain America is sort of there, but he's pretty short-sighted every once in a while.
Right, but I think what I liked about what they did with Captain America, and I loathed Civil War, but I at least enjoyed I at least enjoy Cap sticking to his guns. I also, by the way, do not know how everyone got out of that floating prison in the middle of nowhere. That's never been explained. They just
I imagine Tony helped him out of guilt, because after the fact, guilt, discreet escalier, that's like Tony's whole thing, basically.
Right, but they had to retcon it so that Ant-Man was suddenly, he's under house arrest and playing with his daughter rather than being in a watery prison in the middle of nowhere.
Right, yeah, I know, right? For some reason, not participating in the jailbreak gets you out of Super Guantanamo as well. But I don't know.
It's all very weird.
If he hadn't, right, they would have had to actually do something with Ant-Man and the Wasp beyond what they did, which hey, at the least we got Michelle Pfeiffer now. I mean,
right.
We could not have Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas.
Right, because they disappear in the post-credit sequence, don't they?
Yep.
Which, if I will say this right now,
all flesh is as the grass.
And now I assume that there's some big we're going to fly around the planet in reverse time or whatever that is going to fix all this shit. But I will say this: the Infinity War movie
is only a couple issues into the movie they made is only like the first couple issues of the series,
of course,
in which it's based on. So,
yeah, and also the fact, this was the other thing is like Strange can manipulate time and place and all the rest of it, and now so can Thanos with the stone. So it's like all of it is just it's all nonsense. But at this point, because they've written themselves into a point where it's like, well, now everyone is just about as equal as everyone else, except the human Avengers. So the Iron Man and Hawkeye and Natasha and Falcon. They have neat gadgets and all, but they're not superhuman. Everyone else is superhuman at this point. So it's sort of become ridiculous, and in terms of how they've written it, and it's like that whole fight in New York with Strange and Iron Man, and then the Hulk not coming out, whatever, is probably the most frustrating bit in Infinity War, because I'm like, well, both him and who's the sidekick again? Strange's Wong, right. So Strange and Wong are there, and they've both got the like portal magics and all the rest of it, and blah 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 blah. Are you telling me that they couldn't make 4 portals appear and slice those beasts into 4, and then be like, all right, next, like, or I don't know, reverse time, appear behind them and hit them on the head with a club? Like, none of that happens. Yet in Thor, there's a whole sequence where Strange is like manipulating time for a god, and then is able to open a portal and push 2 gods into Norway. Like, yeah.
Or push the portal into 2 gods. Yeah. No, right. I know what you mean. And guess what? Welcome to comic books, because this is the other thing. I cribbed that Lebowski reference from my Infinity War review. So here comes another one. Over the course of these 10 years, these movies have managed to import every single fucking thing that we comic book fans have been complaining about for 30 years, wholesale, and without addressing them really in any way, shape, or form. The power creep, the incipient power creep, the retroactive continuity, certainly, and the fact that as the amount of giant universe redefining crossovers expand, the more moments you're going to have like what you just described, those thoughts you have on the stairs after the fact. And the more of those you have, the more people you're going to have who are going to go like, well, why didn't Strange and Wong just push the whole donut ship into the mirror dimension, let them fuck around with that, in Dolly Land, try and find the stones when they're over there. Things like that. Right. My thing is, all of through the message at the end of Ragnarok is, are you Thor, god of hammers? And he spends all of Infinity War being like, well, yes, I am. Apparently he is. Right. Yes, even though by the end of Ragnarok he was freely and completely just, blasting motherfuckers, annihilating an entire army. And he does so again.
So am I just to take it from you then that just accept it? What happens will happen.
No, God damn it, no. Because I am a critic first and foremost, and there's no reason why. Why should we accept it? Like
because otherwise I'll just be frustrated till the end of time, rather than just being like, well, I guess they didn't use their superpowers. Next. Like,
I was gonna say again, welcome to comic books, man.
And I'm already old and grumpy, and I'm already frustrated, and I'm already way beyond my time, and I'm already talking about shit that's geared towards 15-year-olds. So I mean, if
time is now.
Sorry, dude.
Our time is always now. There is no past and there is no future.
That's what I like to assume, but I keep being told by the hive mind that things are amazing and wonderful, and this is the best thing ever. And then the
first trick Marvel ever played was to convince everyone that base level. The base level of competence that has become the new normal is the greatest thing ever.
Right. And this is a neat way to transition away from my niggling questions about inconsistencies in what essentially has just become the most overblown CGI-filled soap opera ever committed to movies.
Turgid supernatural CGI soap opera. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Yes. Let's add more adjectives to it because I agree. But
though honestly, not that turgid. Not enough people are fucking, unfortunately. But we'll see what happens.
My issue with the Marvel Universe at this point has become a little bit like my feeling towards Tarantino movies. And it's this. I know that when I go to the next Tarantino movie, I'm going to be disappointed. I haven't liked a Tarantino movie completely wholesale since Kill Bill 1. But for some reason, I still keep going to watch Tarantino movies. And the thing with Marvel is I like them now on a scale of about one every 3 movies, one every 4 movies, and then they're okay like one in every 2 or 3 movies, and then like one every 3 movies just fucking sucks. And yet I will kind of keep, Captain Marvel came out, and I'm not an Alison Brie. I keep saying Alison Brie. I'm not a Brie Larson fan. I'm just not. I'm not convinced she's a particularly good actress, and I'm still not convinced after Captain Marvel. And please, nobody call me sexist for that. I'm allowed to not like an actress and still be a feminist. Thank you very much. Secondly, when I saw the trailer and everything like that, it didn't particularly blow my skirt up, and I tend to get the vibe now from trailers whether it's going to or not. Not that I go in with a preconceived idea, but there are definite there are definite trailers where I'm like, oh, okay, this will probably be something I enjoy. And there's trailers now where I'm like, all right, we'll see, whatever. And I forget where I was going with all this, but anyway.
Me, I fucking hate trailers. I'm afraid that even accidentally they might give me a preconceived notion that would destroy my, first viewing of whatever it is. I mean, I don't particularly agree with people slapping spoiler alerts all over everything, but I understand the sentiment, which is why I didn't watch any of the trailers for this movie and had nothing, no preconceptions going into it, except, of course, for a fear formed by my knowledge of Carol's previous history.
Right, and I guess my other thing is that, while I certainly enjoy the Marvel Universe as much as a man pushing 40 who was not particularly raised on comic books can enjoy it, and I am getting, I have every couple of years got a bit of the enthusiasm suck from the whole thing. Like there's only so much I can push on with some of this stuff. And I was, along with being not a big comic book guy growing up, although I had my comics, they were never the superhero ones particularly.
But then you grew up in Britain where you had a choice in the matter.
Yeah, but also by the time I was reading comics, they were more sort of, I grew up loving like detective fiction and stuff. So my thing was more the detective comics, the Guns and Ammo comics, the fighting martial arts kind of stuff. It was not the superhero stuff. It was more the kind of, some had supernatural elements, but a lot of them were kind of grounded in reality as much as they
I was going to say Europe is ground zero for various and sundry paranormal detectives.
Yeah, no, I love all that stuff, but but in general, I do have this enthusiasm leak where I'm, it was like that period at the beginning of the 2000s where every other movie was a Seth Rogen movie. We could only take so much.
Oh God.
And Marvel is considerably more entertaining than Seth Rogen, but just in general, you kind of become a little tired with them all. I do keep going back because, like I say, one in every 3 kind of shows me, shit I either haven't seen before, or at least takes something I've seen before and makes it kind of new and funky. But so I went into Captain Marvel with more of a, well, here we go. Here's the next chapter. Let's see what this one is all about. Knowing it was a prequel, but it also ties into the end of Infinity War.
In comic book terms, this would be issue number 0 that would just appear suddenly in the middle of the run, so permanently fucking up everyone's filing system.
Well, yeah.
This is so this is Avengers 0. Yes, semicolon Captain Marvel.
Well, that's what's so funny is that I think, was it in the UK that Captain America was called the first Avenger? I think it was.
As far as I know, it was everywhere. That was that was back when they were still scared, right? That people wouldn't see all of these movies, so they had to
thought
put
when
that in.
Captain America came out, it was called just Captain America in some territories, and then other territories added the first Avenger to kind of, or whether that was added like posthumously after it had already come out or whatever. I don't remember. There was something about that I remember. Like, Anyway, yes, so Captain America being the first Avenger went, no, he's not. Well, he is, because he's from World War II. So
correct.
He is, chronologically speaking, the first Avenger. With Captain Marvel technically being the second Avenger, even though the Avengers didn't exist when Captain Marvel comes around. Because apparently it was all her that influenced everything.
Yes.
She influenced the name of the Avengers. She was around when Fury lost his eye. So she kind of started this all. And if anything, what I appreciated about Captain Marvel is it's actually a Nick Fury movie.
I was going to say, for a PG-13 version of Long Kiss Goodnight, they did pretty well.
Right. Yes, exactly. Well done. That was fantastic. Yes. If only they had Shane Black, though, scripting this one. Because whoever they had scripting it, oh, my God. There was like 1,700 people involved with writing the story, according to the credits. There was at least 5 people involved in writing the script. And they had 2 directors. I'm not going to say that occasionally it helps to have one creative vision, but this could definitely have benefited from one creative vision.
And those are the credited 5. The
yeah,
two
right. No, of course. 5. Yeah, completely.
Those are the credited writers, however. And now, according to WGA rules, in order to get credit, you need to do at least 33% of the script. So this, along with Black Panther, along with, I'd imagine, a lot of the movies coming out in this phase, this began in the Marvel writers, in-house writers workshop. They apparently have one. And it's been churning out screenplays for them ever since the end of the Joss Whedon era, shall we say. So there's a pipeline.
Oh, Joss Whedon, who didn't have a hand in this script, but through the last series of Buffy, anybody who watched that far kind of did, because the end of this movie is sort of that.
Present. Yes. So there, because of this, like, as the universe has grown more successful, unfortunately, it's contributed to increased, rule from on high, mostly by, corporate fiat. So at this point, Marvel is casting its directors as much as it's casting the actors. And surprise, surprise, when they aren't going after recent Oscar winners or Robert Downey Jr.'s friends, who are they going for? They're going for TV veterans and hungry young unknowns who will be glad for what they, I'm sure, see as the greatest break that God ever handed to them in their laps, right? And who will take shit that rolls downhill and be glad for it and not ask for too much money. Like, this is not just Marvel's MO. I've noticed this a lot with a lot of studios these days. You do a couple of indie dramas that get some buzz, right? And then suddenly, like the clouds will part and God herself will reach down and snatch you up out of obscurity. And suddenly you'll be directing a superhero movie, right? And or a Star Wars movie, right? Or
Right.
whatever. Fox fucked it up with Josh Trank, but everybody else seems to be able to keep their directors from showing up drunk on set. Or if they don't, then we don't hear about it, because that's the thing. I've been able to piece together some of the story of how this got developed, but Disney is like a black box in there. It's just, nobody's talking. It's amazing. It's and kind of frightening, actually. We only hear about shit long after the fact. Like, apparently Carol was supposed to have a shot somewhere in Guardians. Like, the first two names in the script credit, one of them is Nicole Perlman, who did 90% of the work on the Guardians script before James Gunn even got on board, right? So that's at least 2013 since they've been working on it. And yeah, like you say, 5 years in development hell has almost never helped anything.
Right.
But they had to wait that long because Marvel CEO Ike Perlmutter is a crusty, old-ass, shit-headed dinosaur who apparently wouldn't greenlight any movie with a female protagonist because girls don't buy toys.
Right.
Or girl toys don't sell. I've heard both excuses.
Right. And we can, I could go on ad nauseum about...
Same with Black Panther, incidentally.
Right.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I should say. Yes.
And I could go on ad nauseum with all the things that the so-called, in quotation marks, critics and fans have said about this particular film, about it being, the first genuinely female-driven heroic movie. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, what? First of all, did you all forget Wonder Woman? Or was I just under a bridge? Not only that, but did you forget the literally thousands upon thousands of female heroines who have shown up in movies since their inception, just because they don't necessarily fall into the holier than thou, cleaner than everyone else sort of female heroine that apparently we're all meant to consume at this point, just because they are layered characters and fallible occasionally and, God forbid, have sex occasionally, doesn't mean that there weren't female heroes in movies before this fucking film. And that one, like... retconning of Hollywood history and ignorance about I swear to God, when I read shit sometimes I'm like, is everyone just 12? Like, did everyone just get born in the year 2000 and forget everything else that happened ever? And what is it?
The camera lens on your computer is one of those Men in Black flashy thingies. It just wipes your memory.
Oh right. Yeah. I'm sure. I wouldn't put it past them. It just blows my mind. Like, I don't understand it. I was 10 in 1990, but when I was 10, I could tell you about films from the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, at least from the golden age. I could point out Jack Lemmon or Walter Matthau or Marilyn Monroe or, whoever, Steve McQueen or whatever. I could point to them and know who they were, right? Nowadays, if it didn't fucking happen last week, people just have no fucking idea. And this is not a grumpy old man rant about millennials. I'm not saying that. I don't care what generation you are, but when I read film criticism or film reviews or anyone on Twitter, I just think to myself, really? Did you just fall out of bed this morning and go, whoa, there are movies, and go along to them and just be like, well, I guess this is the first female superhero. I mean, it's just fucking idiots. Anyway, sorry, dude. I needed to get that off my chest.
I figured you would. Yes, as a millennial, I sometimes feel the same way. They couldn't, but no, nobody has any memory anymore. What are you talking about? Whatever happened last week didn't even happen. Like, they're gonna forget this in a second. None of this will
because everything that's happening day by day in the real world is so horrific. Nobody wants to remember any of it. Like, we don't want to remember the fact that we have thieves, cretins, and bigots on the throne. We don't want to know that. So,
a demented game show host, sundowning before noon.
Yeah.
But you've hit it right there. That's it. Or at least that's part of it. Yes. And because of this, what do you? Gee, yeah, are we surprised that we turn to feel good, uncomplicated fantasy?
I am actually because during the Vietnam era, which was the last time that America was truly in its conflicted, almost civil war, one side against the other, civil rights growing, feminism growing, all the rest of it. When we were in that turbulent time, America produced some of the greatest...
The era in which Carol first debuted, yes.
Right.
1968.
America created some of the greatest art that's ever been put on celluloid in the history of humanity. So, no, I don't understand why we're all like, well, I guess if the world's really horrible, we should watch really nice things and pretty PG-13 things. No, I don't understand that impulse at all. I actually don't.
That era birthed a generation of auteur directors who then went on to make their own production companies, and those gradually grew bigger, got more rich, and got absorbed by various corporate blobs. And so here we are. I mean, shit, George Lucas moved his whole studio out to that big ranch in the forest so he could get away from union work, right?
Right.
So... it's the seeds of the future are buried in the past, always.
No, true. I just meant, it's funny, even during the Bush era, and I don't necessarily mean to label anything or politicize anything, but during the Bush era...
No, that's my job, and you're talking about W, right?
Yeah, we had a series of filmmakers, and, I just watched Good Night and Good Luck again the other day. But in general, we had a series of filmmakers, whether it was Soderbergh or whether it was Clooney or whether it was people like that, who were putting together films that either spoke about the current time using history, or did films that had an underlying message that was speaking about current times while still be sort of enjoyable or whatever it is. And now... Yes, Marvel, like we were just talking about with Thor Ragnarok, yes, there is some commentary in there. If you tell stories that are essentially told by humans, you're going to get some message in there, just like the messages you could pluck and pull from Captain Marvel, should you so wish, and the messages yes. Captain Marvel seems intent on hitting us over the fucking head with repeatedly. But what it does from start to finish, I'm like, I get it. She's a female superhero. No, I get it. People are always telling females to smile. No, I get it. She's trying to I understand. No, I do. Yeah, no, God,
shit.
No, I'm gonna go to
people.
sleep.
People told Superman to smile more. What the hell? No. But nobody remembers that either. I'm the only one.
I get it. No, but yes, of course, it's a superhero movie that, as you say, started off in 2013, but by the time we sat down to watch it in 2019, you can't help the shadow of Me Too hanging over it. Quite rightly so. If you're going to make a female-centric hero film or action film or whatever like that, at some point, men are going to be the antagonists, and therefore the villains. Totally makes 100% sense. I'm not attacking it for that reason at all, but there are ways to do that. There are clever, well-written, subtle, exciting, interesting, creative ways to do that makes the entire audience come together. And then there is what they did with Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I don't know about bringing audiences together. It's kind of like herding cats. But I will say they could have gone way more further with it. Like, the Air Force has the worst fucking history, or it would have the worst fucking history of dealing with various kind and sundry flavors of sexual assault if the Navy didn't exist. But they couldn't do that, of course, because then they wouldn't have had their Air Force tie-in advertising that has been particularly onerous to me this whole time, even before the film premiered, which is funny because we barely see Carol fly. And when we do, it's her crashing. But whatever.
Right, and when we do, it's in a modified super spacecraft. It's not in a regular jet.
Well, she gets to Louisiana in a regular jet.
Right.
And
No.
so
I mean, when we see her crashing Isn't that in the jet that's meant to be able to break this?
Dr. Lawson's, prototype.
Yeah. Right.
Some Project Pegasus.
Right.
Somebody was doing faster than light travel on Earth in 1995. And I'd very much like to. Apparently, all her research notes are just sitting there, in a folder somewhere. I'd very much like to know what became of that. But then again, I'd like to know many things. I'd like to know where Blonsky is. The last time we saw Hydra, they were trying to start their own plague collection. But it's probably not going to get followed up on, or if it is, it'll be by the time I'll have forgotten even wanting it in the first place, and then I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Remember, I imagine that a bunch of the people that, Marvel's been making movies for so long, that a bunch of the people that saw the Red Skull in Infinity War were like, who?
Who?
Why is there a floaty red-faced Werner Herzog?
But goddamn, and goddamn it, he's been, yes. Though now that he's free of his job guarding the stone, God knows what'll happen.
Oh, I hope he comes back. I can see Captain America, the first one, is still one of my favorites. And
I know, but it won't be Hugo though. God damn it, I can tell the difference. Yeah.
Yes, because in Infinity War, he just did the voice. The whole of the Red Skull is basically CG, right?
No, that's a dude with makeup on, and that's why Hugo didn't want to do it. That and he got burned out on trilogies.
And Hugo didn't do the voice then?
No. That's somebody new. I'd have to look up. I don't have it in front of me right now.
It looked to me, because the voice looked so disembodied, that it looked like someone else was doing the overdub. So I figured that Hugo just went into a sound booth in Australia and just kind of said a few lines and shipped that off to Disney, and then they replaced him physically in the scene with CGI or some dude. Like, that's what it looked like to me, but
that would be the most expedient thing. Who knows what kind of actual money he might demand for, being a voice actor. I mean, shit. Voice actors got their own guild.
True. Literally, just get Werner Herzog, who probably is not in the voiceover guild, even though he should be, because his voiceovers are amazing. You just get Werner Herzog to do all the Red Skull lines from now on, because that's literally all Hugo's doing in the first Captain America.
I'd say that would actually be kind of awesome.
Yeah, well, it would, because you could just say, look, could you please just I want a Marvel movie where Werner Herzog just does a voiceover for the movie, where he's just explaining how nature and the earth cares not for these superheroes and they're prancing about. Like, I really just want
that. For the human life they claim to respect.
Yeah, right. All I see is fornication. Like, I just want him doing voiceovers on Marvel.
And so we see how death would always subsume life.
Why is it that the big green man does not make boom boom with the little lady? It is because nature will not allow it. It's like, all those things would be amazing if Werner Herzog did it. But
nature abhors a vacuum. But back to
Captain Marvel.
Pulling threads out of, yes, you mentioned pulling tenuous threads out of Captain Marvel, and buried amongst everything, I did, and for all the Air Force tie-ins, I found it especially ironic to find an actual stealth commentary on our nation's current forever wars in the antagonists of this film, the Kree. Would you like me to elaborate?
Yes, go right ahead. But I mean, I know where you're going, but yeah, go right ahead.
Because it's pretty fucking right there on the screen, isn't it? Right? We have an interplanetary empire that's given itself paranoid schizophrenia after years of fighting a protean enemy of explicit shapeshifters in this film. But, it's a metaphor that could be anywhere at any time and strike out for any reason that the Kree don't even bother to speculate about, right? Never occurs to them that their enemy, the Skrulls, might be fighting for sheer survival. No, they just seek out and attack them wherever they find them with small teams of Tier 1 operators who call shots shots for the big team, the bombing squad, to literally nuke things from orbit. And the Kree version of SEAL Team 6 seems to run on good old-fashioned press ganging, like a certain Royal Navy I once used to know.
Right.
And so, yes, and so this is the story of one of their operatives waking up, having been stripped of memory, and even, most of her name, except for the last syllable. She's just a stray syllable unmoored from the rest of herself. And so this is the journey of her self-discovery, remembering herself and her own name. And it's very magical, because once you know your true name, you gain access to your true power. And thus you gain a new name. Marvel. 2 words, right? The hyphen is silent.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. So I agree with everything you just said. Let's quickly encapsulate the storyline such as it is in Captain Marvel. They attempt to do a Pulp Fiction with it, in the sense that kind of the beginning of the movie. The middle of the movie is the beginning of the movie, and the beginning and end are sort of the middle. But they do a non-linear storyline. We're thrown in at the deep end at the beginning with a lot of space stuff and a lot of futuristic stuff, and Brie Larson is running around with Jude Law, neither of them being particularly charismatic or interesting. They're trying to do a fight on some planet, and essentially it's establishing that Jude Law and Brie Larson are fighting on the side of justice, and everyone else is a bad guy in space, and they are terrorists, and blah, 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 blah. Of course, no one's buying that for a second, but anyway, we'll go with it for the first bit.
You'd be surprised. Like, we're worldly, we're cynical men of the world, right? We weren't surprised. We saw that shit coming.
Well, the moment that the first thing was a trap, and then there was the bit with what's her name? The Supreme Digital.
Annette Bening.
Annette Bening,
the Supreme Intelligence.
The Supreme Intelligence, who's literally not intelligent enough to know who this character really is. Like, it's the Supreme Intelligence who is not able to know.
I think it knows. It's just not telling, because it's just not telling them.
It knows enough to put the handcuffs on it, but to put she got a fucking chip in her neck, right? It's not in the comics. It's usually a collar that inhibits your superpowers, but that's the chip in the neck is both less gaudy and thematically appropriate. It kind of links back to Ragnarok, actually, now that I think about it. Right, except that they're the Supreme Intelligence's plot in terms of Captain Marvel is we'll put an inhibitor on her powers. That's number one. Then we'll put it together with Jude Law, on either the hope that Jude Law can brainwash her, or on the hope that Jude Law, her and Jude Law get together. Either one, it's fine with. And let's just hope that at no point does she ask any questions or get any memories back or get into any kind of situation where either of those things might happen, because God forbid, because she might find out who she really is, which is for a Supreme Intelligence, a tenuous plan at best.
Pretty much, yes. It's also fairly typical of the Kree Supreme Intelligence's plans. At least this one didn't involve Ronan in any worthwhile capacity.
Right. So we're introduced to the guy who goes on to become the villain in the first Guardians movie, right?
Back here, when he was less of a boy than he was back then, and at least here he had a real job, like a real grown-up job. So he's not Ronan the accuser. He's like Ronan the prosecutor or something. Ronan the tattletale.
And he lacks a couple of black lines on his face as well. Doesn't he have black lines on his face in Guardians?
Well, that's the war paint he puts on when he goes off on his damn fool idealistic crusade years later.
That's the other way that we know that she's on the wrong side.
Exactly. There
because,
you go. Thank
you. Your man, and I'm going to mispronounce his name. What's his
Jan
name?
Rog? Yes. Or Ronan? Yeah.
No. Hang on one second.
Jamon Housen.
Hang on one second. Yes. Jamon Housen. When Jamon Housen shows up, you're like, oh, right. He's the guy who's trying to get Star-Lord at the beginning of Guardians.
Yep. And
he's a bad guy. So when she's with them, I was just like, oh, wait, so she's with the bad guys? Like,
yep.
So, yeah, I knew from kind of day one, I think, just for all the different reasons. And then, so anyway, long story short, she, during a ambush, she gets embroiled with the Kree. They read her mind.
The Skrulls. Sorry.
The Skrulls.
Yes.
Sorry.
She's working for the Kree.
She's working for the Kree with the Skrulls. Right.
The Skrulls, and they hook her up to the mind reader machine.
There's a mind reader machine. Of course there is. And through a whole twist of events, she ends up down on Earth. Which is Planet 53 or something, which makes me laugh because 53 is my lucky number. So I was like, I really like that.
C53.
C53, yes. Right. And my last name
doesn't even get a name in the Kree star charts, right? We're a fucking number. We're that unimportant.
My last name is Cross, so that's the C, and then 53. So I'm tied into the Marvel Universe. That's what I'm going to claim at this point.
Hell yeah. There you go.
And again, something I might question, we enter into the nostalgia mining...
The John Cross from this Earth 2 times 10 to the fifth, is also a podcaster. But he,
well, I'm only 9. Isn't it 89? No, when does she crash on Earth?
1995.
So yes. I'm 15 at this point. I could be a podcaster if the internet existed, which it existed, but we didn't have it in England until 96. And certainly not to the capacity that we now have the internet. It was still fucking dial-up, you know?
Yeah. I remember. And yes, there was quite a bit of 90s nostalgia mining.
Right, which again, I might point out, for the 90s nostalgia mining only works if you have a sense of history or if you were there. And if you have a sense of history and you were there, this movie, which is trying to be all like the greatest female superhero ever, you're like, wait, I've seen female-driven... Like, if you were around in 95, especially if you were going into video stores...
Shout out to Black Scorpion. Yeah.
Right, you're aware of Black Scorpion.
I know, right? Yeah, I got deep cuts for days. Boy.
Oh my God!
I was just thinking back. It was either that or I make a barbed wire joke.
Right. Someone pointed out to me the other day, they were like the Nighthawk Cinema, which is sort of this retro theater that's sort of like a draft house. You can sit and eat and drink and stuff. It's up in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. They were doing like a series of female-driven superhero films, and they were showing Barbed Wire, and someone was like, hey, do you want to go see Barbed Wire? And I'm like, no, even sitting, I have no intention of sitting in a movie theater and watching Barbed Wire ironically. I'd rather punch myself repeatedly in the face.
You could just watch, I'm stealing this joke from another podcast, but I don't care. You could just watch Casablanca on one screen and porno on the other.
Right.
And you'd get probably a better effect, honestly.
Joan Severance was Black Scorpion. That's who Black Scorpion it was. Yeah, and you know, unfortunately, if you go back to the 90s and the female-driven superhero movies, you are looking more at cleavage than you are at plot. And so I will give Captain Marvel that. There was certainly more plot than there was cleavage. Because that's the way the 90s were, kids. You just have to deal with it. Cleavage was all right back then. It wasn't just reserved for 15-year-old pop stars on the front of Us Weekly. It was allowed in films as well.
Oh, snap.
Listen, apparently, if you're a female pop star, you have to be incredibly attractive, and it's perfectly okay for you to be naked 2/3 of the time. That apparently is something society is absolutely fine with. But God forbid you bring any sexuality whatsoever into our movies or our PG-13 films. God forbid. However, please do poison the mind of the youth by having these reality TV stars flounce around.
And they're incredible amounts of money. And their own product tie-in deals, you see.
Yeah.
And they're, but anyway, nobody's watching that on TV anyway. They're getting it right from Instagram, straight from the
No, but that's
source.
what I mean, right? Instagram models, yet another thing in this, and I'm saying this in a way to point out the hypocrisy, not because I'm sat here being like, bring back big boobs and whatever. I'm saying we live in a time where, on one hand, we're told we're not even allowed to make a joke because it would be deemed to be offensive, or we're not allowed a character to have sexuality because that would be deemed to be misogynistic. But we're also,
who's telling you this?
We're also,
Shit.
again, the hive mind, the society, the consciousness, or whatever.
This is what I was talking about. Just stop. You can't let the Matrix can't tell you who you are.
No, they're not telling me who I am. I'm just saying, in general, the conversations that I see going on.
But see, even that much, right? Even giving that even giving that enough attention is too much oxygen. Like the discourse that you're talking about is fucking toxic
and relentless.
And I'm coming at it from the other end. I'm coming at it from my my fellow comic book fans who. Yes. Let's just say every criticism anyone has ever made of them is entirely, accurate.
Right. But let's not forget, we do live in a world where they pulled up a fucking interview from John Wayne from 40 fucking years ago to be outraged because there was a small vacuum of non-outrage that they had to fill with some outrage. So they found it. And then when Porky's turned 35 years old or whatever it turned this week, everyone got outraged. Can you believe Porky's? If you go back and watch Porky's, the absolute... And I'm just, there was another thing with Revenge of the Nerds as well. They're like, Revenge of the Nerds is just a movie that makes endless jokes about date rape. And I'm like, oh my God, for fuck's sake. Who rammed a stick up the world's ass, and where did we all go?
Find the lie.
No idea.
I'm like, I've been out trolling high schools all week.
I just mean, we live in a world where, on one hand, people are making money on Instagram hand over fist by essentially just photographing their cleavage, and on the other hand, people are telling us that cleavage is bad. We're living, again, in some sort of mad...
Because it's all connected. It's all of a piece. Like, because there are Instagram because of Instagram and the fact people have no control over that, the only control they have over is to yell at people on Twitter, and so what, you expect them not to exercise the one bit of power that they have? Of course, they're powerless to do anything else, right? They're powerless when they get yelled at. And so the outrage cycle continues because it drives clicks. It's that vaunted free market the libertarians, endlessly bitch and moan about whenever it doesn't go their way. It's it is inevitable. Sorry, I'm Matrix quotes today. But
it's all good, dude. I didn't mean to derail. I just
we're all trapped in it. We're all trapped by it, and no, it's fine. I would just subtly, push back because there are.
Well, this is me pushing back. This is my platform. I'm not going to go on Twitter and try and individually debate the waves of outrage.
No, God, don't do that.
But I am right because
your mind will be even more
futile.
broken and poisoned
by
it than it already is. That way does lie serious madness, but because because you see, the internet is full of mad people. Why give any of their piddly why give any of their fiddly concerns the
right,
honor
any time of day or any
right.
air, right? Exactly, and I had this.
And of course, I'm as guilty of this as anyone. I'm a fan of Zack Snyder's Superman movies, so
right.
I'm as much of. That's the thing.
And yet, I still have him on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Look at me, hands across the country. This is why I know I can say whatever I want about Captain Marvel, because no matter what I say, the Marvel maniacs will dismiss me. They don't want me on their side, which is funny because I am. Right? No, completely. And my only point when it comes to something like Captain Marvel is not so much this is my feeling. I went to the theater, I watched the movie, it filled in a lot of like Nick Fury plot points. It introduced us to Captain Marvel. It was fine. It was okay. It began, it ended. I was a little wiser in terms of the Marvel Universe, but none the wiser in terms of humanity, and it was fine. It was adequately made, relatively badly edited, had a forgettable score, had a soundtrack that again mined every single female-driven grunge band and pop band from the 90s.
Oh, not even. Now I will have to fight you on that.
Well, I mean, all the top 40 ones
did not get out of the top 40.
No, but that's what I mean. All the top 40 ones.
No, fucking hell.
Dude, are you expecting deep dives in Marvel movies? I mean, for fuck's sake.
I know, right? But hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
You know,
they literally used "I am Iron Man" for Iron Man. Let's not assume that these people are looking beyond sort of what is relatively known and popular. Let's not assume that we are deep diving.
Or even that they know even that. Apparently, Taika Waititi got his job by cutting together action scenes from the previous Thor movies to "Immigrant Song" by Led Zeppelin. And he showed the thing he did to the suits, and they were apparently all impressed, and they were like, "Oh yeah." And one of them asked, "Hey, what's that song you used?" And he's and this is
the world we're living in,
right? And apparently Taika Waititi, being a man with Vulcan-like self-control, explained to them that it was "Immigrant Song" by Led Zeppelin, one of the most popular and successful rock songs by one of the biggest acts of all time. And this is the world we're dealing. He did not ask any of the questions I would have asked, like, you live in LA, you're stuck in traffic all the time, you've never turned on the classic fucking rock station, because of course they haven't. They're on their cell phones the whole time.
Right, and they're all 12. And this is why I found such contradictions in the Captain Marvel movie, because, like I say, there's this nostalgia mining all over the place, but it's nostalgia mining by people who go, Blockbuster and Nine Inch Nails, that's 90s, right? And that's as deep and as far as it goes. Like, there was... Could have at least had a cut from Slater-Kinney's first album. That's all I'm saying. Right. I mean, well, yeah, you could have had a cut from any number of things, but again, it goes the Tarantino route of doing a soundtrack over a score. In fact, I would have to argue that the Marvel scores in general have become incredibly empty, repetitive, non-important. I mean, there's something slightly different done with some prog rock stuff during Thor Ragnarok, which was welcome, and again, probably comes from Taika. But in general, I said this to someone the other day. I'm like, hum Thor's theme. Or like hum Hawkeye's theme, or hum whatever. Superheroes used to have themes. God damn it! What happened to that? Yeah, I know. And they've all been kind of subsumed into the Avengers theme, which is recognizable at least. But yes, or if you're Spider-Man, we're just going to drag out a theme song from a cartoon from the late 60s because it's apparently the only thing people have ever given a shit about when it comes to Spider-Man.
And I know for a fact that's demonstrably not true. The theme song from the 90s animated adjectiveless Spider-Man series has at least as much nostalgia points inherent to it as that one from the 60s.
Right, but I'm watching European Vacation Spider-Man trailer, and at the end they cannot fucking resist. Dun 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 dun, and I'm like, really? I mean, are we really? Like, we haven't come up. Either use that as his theme, either that is Spider-Man's theme for time immemorial, or get rid of it. Don't have this thing where they're like, we're not sure if we sold you with this trailer. Wait, let's whip out that theme everybody knows the words to.
Then, or they could just they could Inception it like Hans Zimmer did, and just keep just have this one thing, keep manipulating it so that it sounds like a different piece of music every time. Just like take sections out of it, stretch them out, or compress them back together. Get the chip tune.
I mean, I guess at least they didn't go the Raimi route and actually have a busker sing the Spider-Man theme song in the movie. Where I'm like, so wait a minute, are you saying that the cartoon from the 60s exists in this universe, in which case there's already been a Spider-Man, but there's been a Spider-Man in fiction, now there's a Spider-Man in reality? Wait, what?
Can't copyright your license if you don't use your legal name.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but anyway, so in Captain Marvel, again, my feeling on it was that it was haphazard and shambolic, but perfectly serviceable. I think that it had definitely too many writers. I think that while they are trying to, and I actually appreciate this, but since, obviously nowadays less said about Bryan Singer the better, but if you look at that wave of movies from X-Men to Spider-Man, you can also pull in the Lord of the Rings and various other big budget movies that were happening at the turn of the millennium. The studios, more or less for the first time, were mining those indie guys who came up through the 80s and 90s and saying, well, can they carry a big budget film, right? So, up until that point, the biggest budget Bryan Singer had worked with was The Usual Suspects. And then up until that point, obviously, Sam Raimi had been doing his Evil Dead stuff and Darkman and For the Love of the Game and trying out a bunch of different things, but he had never really hit the big time until Spider-Man. And Peter Jackson was well known as for kind of splatter horror comedy, and the one about the killer lesbian sisters, Heavenly Creatures.
Yes.
But in general was that guy, and then got to do Lord of the Rings. So we're still somewhat riding the wave of that. You have Jon Favreau helming Iron Man, which kind of cements, again, this idea of like, oh, there's all these indie directors. Let's pluck from this thing. We don't have to pay them as much, I presume. Like, they're just grateful for the exposure. But at the same time, the assumption is we're going to get a more kind of creative, unique look from each of these movies. And I actually, on the surface of that principle, completely agree with that. But when you look at, and I don't mean any negativity or disrespect towards the director team behind Captain Marvel, but they haven't worked in film since 2010. And the 4 films, or the 3 films that they did make were very, indie, character-driven, small, and so on. They weren't even, a Raimi level or a Peter Jackson level or even a Jon Favreau level to some extent. And
they were indie dramas, every one of them.
Right.
Yes. And I'm going to have to go back and watch all of them now, and then I'll be able to actually see how much of this movie is actually theirs. I'm seeing 12. That's a 1 and a 2. Assistant directors on this sucker.
Right. So that's
to
what
my
I mean
mind, it's amazing it's as coherent as it is.
Right. But like, it was very interesting. I read a review and I actually agreed with this. While again, I'm not a fan of Brie Larson in general, and I'll leave it there. I'm not going to rail on Brie Larson, because I mean, I can't even imagine what goes through your head or your heart when you have to embody a character like this and put it out on the world stage. So I'm not going to rag on her over and over again, but in general, I'm not a fan. But I read a really insightful review that was like talking about the many different script writers and talking about the many different directors and talking about the production of this film, and saying that when you look at the way Brie Larson is playing the part, it looks like in each different scene, she's being given different notes by different people. On some scenes, she's playing it with like a sly wink and a slight smile, and as a character who's slightly more sure of herself, and da-da-da-da-da. And in other scenes, she's sort of playing it almost like she's not even in the room. And then sometimes she's playing it like a kind of robotic, I was raised on an alien planet, you know, kind of don't quite know who I am kind of thing, but not particularly deep. And the whole thing kind of wasn't gelling. Even the performance wasn't gelling. And then you add that to the choppy editing and the slightly drawn out and unimaginative direction, and it doesn't help, because you have an issue at the center of your movie, which is that for 2/3 of the film, the main protagonist does not know who they are, and we don't know who they are. And it's not, well, okay, right, yes, comic book fans know who they are and so on. I just mean...
But no, that was not what my meant. That was an of agreement, because, of course, we know who Carol has become after 30, in some of our cases 40 fucking years, right of sorrow and loss and strum and drum. And yes, and of course, Brie Larson, who was hired before our directors, would have known that too, because she's of course been apparently locked herself in a room and read all of the collected volumes of the most recent runs, of which there have been 5, I think. Yes. 5 or 6,
yeah. And all I mean to say is,
mostly by one writer, thankfully, Kelly Sue DeCornick. But still,
it's not like you compared this to The Long Kiss Goodnight, right? The thing with The Long Kiss Goodnight is that the premise works because you have mild-mannered family woman. We know who that is. We don't really need to, 2.4 children, house in the New Hampshire suburbs, whatever, right?
Well, one child, but yes.
Whatever. You know what I mean, though.
Yes. And we have badass super spy.
Right, and we have badass super spy. Both of those we can kind of get with. This movie, on the other hand, though, has a human character with a past and a career and issues and problems and a best friend and, facing sexism in the Air Force, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have the woman who doesn't have any memory, who was being trained by Jude Law, who seems to have like a quick wit and a sparky personality, but also has too many emotions and has to control her emotions and blah, 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 blah. Another heavy-handed metaphor and message.
Yes.
And the two should line up as we find out more about the human background, but they actually don't. Like that was my main problem with it. It's like if the flashbacks were deposited throughout the movie in such a way that the overall character lined up and we were filled in as we were going along, it would be more satisfactory than how I feel it was. And I don't think it was helped by Brie Larson's performance. And I don't want to throw it just down at her feet, because I think, like we said, too many directors, too many writers, both rushing to get this out within a time frame, but also having had this sat on a block for 6 years. At least. So many things play into this. But I think it lacked coherence, is what I meant.
I understand. Yes, it's hard to play an amnesiac in the first place. especially someone with the selective and retrograde movie amnesia. And it's even harder when you know where that character is supposed to wind up. So instead of action, that character growing and changing over the course of a narrative as they are affected by events, you pick your endpoint first, and you backfill everything to try and get them to that, right? Especially if they have a guest shot in the Avengers lined up for the next month or the next 2 months. It's not the first time,
right? But also
something like this has happened.
But also, because they have a spot lined up for Captain Marvel in the next Avengers movie, and because that next Avengers movie is going to be cast heavy and plot heavy and all the things that Infinity War was. It's going to be problematic. It's going to be choppy. It's going to be cast heavy. It's going to be
The funny part for me was before Infinity War came out, the Marvel, they get all this press. Oh, look, they're paying all of these actors to actually show up, kill off most of the cast, and now in Endgame, it's not, they should have called it Infinity Crusade, but whatever. Endgame is coming, and it's like, oh, they're getting all this press for, oh, look at how brave Marvel is for just telling everyone to fuck off except for the core 6.
Right. And my point though was, if Captain Marvel's going to enter that fray, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have much time in Endgame to have her establish herself, other than to the other characters. She's going to be like, "Hi, I'm Captain Marvel and Fury and blah 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 blah." They're not going to include those scenes, I presume, because we've all gone to see the movie of what happened.
Oh, please, this thing's going to be 3 hours long. There's going to be the whole scene where she's going to be that scene where Bruce or where Tony explained to Bruce Banner what's been going on while he's been off world this whole time in Doctor Strange's foyer. There's going to be one of those.
Right.
She's gonna take on.
Which is funny because that only confused me because I'm like, wait, he's been off world? Like the whole thing was confusing. Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
2 years.
Yeah. But I feel like I should have come out of Captain Marvel knowing who she was better, and I don't. And I don't mean I know the beats in her life. I know that she was a pilot. I know that she had a best friend. I know that there was some, advanced tech that she was trying out. I know that they crashed that advanced tech. I know that she got a blast from what I think was partly the Tesseract.
Based upon the Tesseract.
Right,
yes.
That made her Captain Marvel. And then I know that she's like a big superhuman person who can fly around and like punch things and whatever. And maybe I don't need to know more than that, but like there certainly wasn't a well-rounded character coming out of that movie. There were things that happened in her life, but I didn't get any sense of who she was at all. I just feel like at the end of the movie, I couldn't help but think to myself, you know what? I really just wish that Lashana Lynch had played Captain Marvel.
Oh, Johnny going for them London girls. What a shock. What a surprise.
She's not playing a London girl in this, though. She's playing
that's true,
a New Orleans lady.
But I'm right there with you. I understand. Yes. And of course, in the comics, you notice her teenage daughter named Monica, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yes. The first female character to take the name Captain Marvel. Because Carol used to be Miss Marvel back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
I just meant that Lashana Lynch could act.
Oh, yeah. This is the first time I've seen Brie Larson in. This is the first thing I've seen her in. And honestly, for what she was given, I think she did okay.
No, it's not the first thing you've seen her in. You will go back and notice her in lots of other movies. It's just in all those other movies you saw her in, she wasn't noticeable.
Yes, that's right. Well, nobody was noticeable in Skull
Island. No, but it's not just Skull Island. She's in a whole bunch of movies that I guarantee you've seen that you don't remember her being in because she is not memorable in any way at all. I guess I was waiting for her to surprise me, and it never happened.
And understandable, yes. I was just surprised that they managed to do as much as they did. Like, part of this is due, and part of the development hell probably was probably due to Carol Danvers' long, fraught, and occasionally unseemly history. And to condense all of that down into 2.5 hours, I mean, boss, that's got to be tough enough. And then but then to have to embody that with, two people, probably 10 people telling you what to do. Jesus Christ. I couldn't even begin. Yeah. It just boggles the mind. I can't even take a supervisor without, my hackles raising. Ugh. That's why I work for myself.
Right. No, I get that. And I don't know. I just guess I hate feeling when a movie starts to make millions upon millions of dollars and everyone is running around the place seemingly writing about how amazing it is.
This week, give it time.
Oh, no, I get it. I always get that sinking feeling where I'm like, I'm not going to like this because, and it's not, I think people think, oh, you don't like it because it's popular. You're anti-populist. And I'm like, fuck, no, I'm not. If you looked at my movie collection, if you looked at my movie collection, they're
just the titles of your podcast, for God's sake.
Right, shit. But I mean, I think people think that I sit around and watch, I don't know, fucking
Taxi Driver on a Loop.
Well, I mean, it is one of my favorite films, but no, I mean, that I sit around and watch fucking Francis Truffaut or something, or Russian Express.
We're going the other way with the stereotypical hidebound snobbish critic.
Right? Yeah. I think
so.
People assume that I watch, that I go to the Anthology Film Archives
Truffaut,
and watch
Orson Welles, fucking. The latter day works of the great silent era Charlie Chaplin's 1950s movies, like
yeah, of course, which I don't do at all. I mean, I don't even sit around and necessarily watch John Huston movies or any of the big directors of the past. Most of my movies were made within the 70s, 80s, and 90s that I sit around and watch, and most of them were hugely popular then and are still hugely popular now. So it's not an anti-populist thing. It's just that I've got to assume that I'm getting older because I watch this stuff and I'm like, how is this? It's not that it's the worst thing ever. You can't even call it the worst thing ever because it's not bad.
And the people out there who are shitters.
Yeah, they're just shitting on it. Yeah.
For other reasons. They're entirely they're not real fans. Fuck them.
Right? No, completely. And I don't want to come across as a knee-jerk hater because I'm not. I guess
I want to defend you because my for my fellow comic book fans, they're a reactionary and superstitious lot who we've been burned before many times. I want to tell you, guys, leave Johnny alone. He's a civilian. It's fine. I got this.
I guess I just come out of it and go, what is exciting everyone else about that? And I don't mean comic book fans. I totally understand the excitement of comic book fans being like, at long last we get to see a Captain Marvel movie. Totally fucking get it. And it doesn't matter.
Dude, we live in the timeline where both, in a month from now, both Captain Marvels will have had actual big budget live action Hollywood movies.
Yes.
I'm vibrating right now. Just
right. And listen, that alone, I totally understand it. Like I didn't.
Boom.
I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but when the Star Wars fandom gets excited when a new Star Wars film comes out, I'm like, have at it. I understand it. Not for me, but I totally fucking get it. So I totally get that. What I don't understand is the wave of people who, sure, they might have been brought up with the Marvel Universe in movie terms, but they're just like you say, regular civilians who go see this movie and get excited by it. It was the same with a lot of the remakes that we see coming out. Like, people are like, "Oh my God, it's amazing!" Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "What is it you went and saw that I didn't see? Am I just old and boring?" No,
you see, Johnny, you watch movies. You watch more. You watch them to actually watch them. You don't put them on in the background as noise or to shut the kids up. And like, you see more than 2 movies a year, right? Which immediately puts
I sometimes see more than 2 movies a week.
Exactly right. But that immediately puts you ahead of the fucking curve. Like at least in the top 30th percentile of moviegoers. Like, every year they put out the fucking MPAA. They put out the stats, and every year they get paranoid about even the most minor jumps up or down in any direction. But mostly they're paranoid, not about us, not about the frequent cinema goers, right? But they are paranoid about the occasional movie goers, because they see them as the actual bread and butter keeping the whole ship afloat, not to mix metaphors. But that's the target audience, right? And yes, it does skew young, but it's almost not even, we're almost past the point of dealing with demographics that big, right? Because we got micro targeting now. So it's not the age cohort really, or the gender breakdown really, that they're going after. It's the people who are occasional moviegoers who might be made to go more often if, say, they were hooked into a big cinematic comic book universe.
No, totally, I understand. And
or 2 or 3. You notice what Sony's doing, right? We're going to be getting we have dueling Spider-Man now, and we'll have plenty more before all of this is through.
But then the House of Mouse has just bought Fox, so Yep. Hugh Jackman might be convinced to come back. It might not be the last time we've seen him as Wolverine.
If he gets to, though, I was waiting because
if he gets to play with the big boy toys, he might want to come back. Some of that money.
God damn it, though, I was waiting for. I was going to sit back and enjoy the Schadenfreude when they cast a new Wolverine, and the Wolverine fandom tore itself apart with sectarian infighting, like the rest of us has had to do for years.
Just back up the money truck to Jackman and be like, really? Any of the movies you're doing outside of the Wolverine franchise worth any kind of time?
You want to play P.T. Barnum the rest of your life? Yeah, go right ahead, buddy. I'm just going to leave this dump truck of money right here in your driveway. Yeah,
I mean, you know that Ryan Reynolds is on board. He's like, and I get to keep making Deadpool movies, but now I get to do it with some of the Marvel stuff that I can dance around in. Come on, he's got to be wet in the pants.
It would be, if he truly does love Deadpool as much as it seems like he does, then yes.
He's the only thing that'll save the Marvel Universe for me at this point.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I'm scared that you might be right.
Once we lose Robert Downey Jr., we need someone else to point out how fucking ridiculous all of this is.
Oh, please. Not like everybody doesn't already do that already. I mean, Jesus Christ. People want to be Deadpool like they aren't already. Yes.
Yeah, no,
maintain ironic distance from the thing you participate in 100%. Yes.
Yeah, although I have to say,
saving your girlfriend from a death trap like every one of Batman's girlfriends that don't stab him in the ribs. Shit.
I mean, I have to say though, like, especially
satire in America, right? I'm gonna teach you some American English here. Satire is code for doing whatever you're making fun of while making fun of it. That's how you get away with it. You see?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have
that's
to say,
what South Park taught us.
When it comes down to, like, you watch the interactions between Star-Lord and Thor in Infinity War, and actually what Infinity War has going for it, if anything at all, is the comedy. The actual superhero stuff is boring, but the comedy's actually pretty strong.
Oh, that fight on Titan. Oh, that's I gotta stand for that one. That's a good one. Yes, that's an actual nice one. I liked that one.
Yeah,
the fight
until Star-Lord fucks it up for everybody for no apparent reason.
Yes, out of love, out of misplaced.
Oh, fuck.
He's a headed Missouri boy, is what he is.
Oh,
That's
for fuck's
one of
sake!
my people.
we literally had one movie where she couldn't stand him, and one movie where they were sort of getting together, and then we have 30 seconds in Infinity War where they're a couple, and then we've got to believe that like he's going to sacrifice the rest of the universe because she's dead. I mean, give me a fucking break.
Yep.
If Spock taught us all right, that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Spock taught us that back in 1982, and motherfuckers have not been listening to him. The fucking Vulcan laid down his fucking life in one of the most emotional scenes between two men in any movie ever. It is one of the greatest fucking films and greatest fucking scenes of all time. He taught us all that, and Infinity War is just like, no, we can't sacrifice anybody. Right, so let him get all the Infinity Stones and fucking... anyway.
But you see, you don't want, but you see, that was a character flaw coming to the fore at the worst possible time. Right?
No, that was an obvious writer development because they really couldn't think of how to stretch this movie out to 3 hours. So,
it's 2 parts, right? You gotta, that's the, thank you, Warner Brothers. That's the Harry Potter, part 7 and 8, right?
Right. Yeah. But no, so I will say something in terms of like the Marvel comedy, and where it does. I get what you mean. Like everyone wants to be a quipster and everyone wants to have jokes, and even Thor now is jokey and so on. But in general, though, the comedy feels at least within their characters. Like Peter's comedy comes from the fact that he feels insecure once Thor gets on the spaceship, and in fact is insecure in general in his leadership because he was a solo guy before he took on the Guardians, and now they all have their own superpowers and everything, and they're all kind of vying for, like, at least the comedy came out of that character moment, you know what I mean? And Thor's comedy still comes out of the fact that he's not quite ever in his comfort zone. He's always in a place where, he's probably the strongest dude in the room, but at the same time, he doesn't quite know who everyone is. And, he's always the fish out of water, even in Asgard, actually, because strangers keep attacking it.
Well, and once you've had Earth, nothing else has as much girth. Wait, no.
I like that. I'll go with that.
I'll workshop it.
And, Tony's comedy comes from his arrogance, comes from his, I know everything quicker and better than everyone else does.
And it was nice to see him with a group of people who did not actually listen to him.
Yeah, of course. No, and so fun. I don't feel like throughout the character arcs of any of these movies that their comedy, such as it is, has morphed into just a generic Deadpooling, detached kind of thing. Even Ant-Man stuff comes from, his family and his playfulness and his, Paul Ruddedness, I guess. But like it comes from all their comedies come from different places. They don't just come from
Ant-Man comes from being a normal guy in the world of super science,
right? And it doesn't just come from what is an arch quip I can make at this point. It feels like at least it comes from the characters. Supporting
cast is for.
Right. No, yes, that's what the, Captain Expositions that bounce around these movies are for, you know what I mean? I think, I think where I get a little tired of the kind of comedy or the quips is when people like Doctor Strange and stuff start being sarcastic and things. I'm like, other people are being sarcastic in this scene. You just be Doctor Strange. And I guess that also comes down to, because I feel about Doctor Strange a bit like I feel about Captain Marvel. It was a wonderful light show, but I don't know who he is, really. I mean, outside of the whole, like, he was a surgeon who lost the ability of his hands or whatever. But, like, he feels very... I didn't like him. And I know I wasn't meant to like him, but I didn't like him as a character. And it wasn't like I didn't like Tony Stark, but I could see that he was a cheeky chappy. It was just that I flat out kind of didn't like him. So when he became a superhero, and there wasn't too much to endear him to me. And that movie had a lot of jumping around and a lot of sidelining of emotional plots that could have actually helped a lot. So in general, yeah, I get a bit tired with that. But in general, I will give Marvel their due. The original characters that have been there for 10 years at least feel well-rounded and real to me. And when they're back on screen, I feel better and in safer hands than I do with some of these newer characters. And I get they didn't get, 3 films and an Avengers movie to kind of endear themselves to me, but
and to find out their place within the greater whole, right, within the larger team,
right.
And that's going to be an issue going forward more and more. Do we have to wait for these team up movies in order to find out? Should we have to wait for these team up movies in order to find out where everybody actually fits into? I don't know, but I'm wondering whether we'll be given a choice. Probably not.
No, but I mean, so I will give it that. I think, although I made the Uncanny Valley crack, I feel like the younging of people in Captain Marvel worked enough. There was a couple of moments where it looked like Samuel L. Jackson's head was 3 times than it normally is and looked odd on his body, but
I was sitting there watching occasionally whenever the dodgier CGI shots would come up. I was thinking like, oh shit,
bobblehead syndrome.
Yep. Well, not that specifically. I didn't notice that, but I was in like row 3. But some of the dodgier space stuff. I was like, oh shit, there's that CGI John was going to talk about. Oh no.
Well, my big problem with space battles and space things is my frame of reference is 2 things, basically, if I'm going to be honest. It's Wrath of Khan and it's Firefly. And nothing has looked as good as Wrath of Khan or Firefly since Firefly. It just hasn't. Like, all the spaceships in all of the Marvel movies, even the ones in Ragnarok that are interesting shapes and funny colors and weird things and whatever, they all are lifeless, boring CGI pods. That there is no. Maybe it was the rack focus and shit that Firefly did that I always thought would feel played out but never did. I don't know what it was, but it just the spaceships in Marvel movies are literally transportation devices, obviously, but you know what I mean. They're literally just like, yeah, draw a triangular blob and put a central console in it. Next, like it just, I don't know.
The Guardians got kind of an okay ship there, but I know what you mean. I get what you mean.
Guardians is the closest they come to Firefly as a kind of ship of ragtag people. And you're right, the Guardian ship is at least sort of interesting in that regard. But I just meant the way they filmed them, I guess.
Ah, there you go. That's the thing right there. That's what we get having all of these assistant directors on the thing, and that's probably also a factor of industrial production, right? Because they got to start that shit at least 2 years in advance to, have it be like even close to done by release date, right? And that's why they keep the other thing, hungry young indie and or TV directors will do is that they won't complain when you hand them a package, when you hire them on, you basically hand them a movie that's already half done because they have to do the pre-visualization, right? Like there are some people, and even some people who were in line to direct this film, are on record as having walked away saying, "No, I wanted to actually, have some agency in the matter. Wanted to actually, direct my movie that's going to have my name on it." Like, and not just go do the talking head circuit afterwards as being cast as the directors of this film, whatever it is, right?
Right, and I think that the more Marvel goes into space, the more it suffers from that. Whereas something like Iron Man if we take it back to quote unquote the beginning, even though it's not the beginning.
Yes.
Hulk is the beginning, but
thank you. Yes,
it
Ang
is
Lee's Hulk for days, motherfucker.
It is. What? No, wait.
No, Iron Man is technically the beginning.
No, it's not. The Iron Man shows up in. Oh wait, the Ed Norton Hulk comes after Iron Man, doesn't it?
Yes, it was 6 months afterwards. Yes.
Okay.
All
right.
But might as well count it from Ang Lee's Hulk because that's the one that's about how 2 generations of people are fucked up by the perversion of super science by the military-industrial complex, and that is a Marvel comic story. No matter what, in the old school.
It just doesn't feature any of the other characters. Tony doesn't show up until
No, that's true. But shit, standalones are there. Sometimes standalones can be better. I don't know. I know.
They had a better General Ross, right?
That's for goddamn sure. Yes,
my boy Sam Elliott.
Your boy and mine, yes, exactly. I could see him becoming Secretary of State, no problem.
Also, what I love about that is that he's married in real life to Catherine Ross. So essentially, when he was General Ross, he took her name. Take that for female empowerment. Come on now. Boom.
Christ. Yes. Oh, my God. Okay.
All right, dude. So let's wrap up with, we've talked a lot about all the elements of Captain Marvel, but what did you as David DeMoss, what did you think of Captain Marvel? What was your kind of capsule review at the end of it all?
Meh, it's all right. Yeah, better than I thought it would. I was scared. I was honestly horrified for what they might do. But they did manage to condense 30 years of comic book continuity into a brisk 2.5 hours, which is exactly what they did with Iron Man. So, honestly, yeah. Shit, worked for me.
And
from start to finish, I was amazed, and seriously, I was amazed. The one thing that nothing actually pissed me off until the end when they did the based on characters appearing in Marvel Comics. I'm like, motherfucker, that's just not fair at all. You should at least give credit, right? It should have said, based on characters created, mostly in this case, by all the people they gave special thanks to at the end, right? There should have been if you're gonna have a block of text for your screenwriters, you should have a block of text for the actual creators of the character as well. But rest of that, but that's at the end. Apart from that, good rip-roaring sci-fi superhero origin story about the search for identity in a world that can often be fucking just can pull the wool out from under you at a second's notice. And, your own memories could be completely unreliable. You never know, up is down, friend is foe. And And in the midst of all of that, it is the heartwarming, uplifting story of one person recovering their identity and their name and their powers and a purpose. At the end, she's leading a genuine, bona fide goddamn exodus,
right,
which is about as heroic as you can get. Without creating life, I guess.
No, I get it, and I think that again, I liked it well enough, but I also didn't like it well enough. If that makes any sense, it was a very average film for me. In terms of the messaging, in terms of the, what makes us human is that we always get back up. What makes women powerful is their command of their heart and their intelligence and their physicality and so on. The constant indicators that she had to overcome male adversity throughout the film, whether it was the guy telling her to smile or, whether it's her adversary at the very end with Jude Law and her saying, I don't have anything to prove to you, and so on. All that is fine. And I totally understand completely why that is in the movie the way it is. I find it, as someone, again, who's watched 50 years worth of movies, probably to a vast degree, and then the other 30 years of movies to a lesser degree. But in general, I feel like I have a wide variety of knowledge of movies. I feel like that message, while I totally appreciate why it's in there, I totally understand how that speaks to the generation of females that I see around me, either online or in person. And while I think that it is decent and good to have a movie where that stuff is said for people who haven't seen the films that we've seen or read the books that we've read or whatever it is, my criticism of this stuff, and there are other movies that have been made recently that have had similar championing because of their feminist message that I also have, or their racial message or any kind of message movie. I feel like we used to be able to do this stuff and put this stuff in movies so that the characters, by their actions and by their body language and by their acting and by their situation and by various things in the script, communicated those things and communicated the more realistic complexity of those issues that Captain Marvel doesn't deal with in a more human and more appealing way. There's something about being challenged, having your intelligence challenged and having your opinions challenged and having your perceptions challenged, that's entertaining, that's enjoyable, that's exciting, that's teaching, that's a thing that will actually improve generations. That if you remove
a teachable moment,
right? But if you remove all that and you simply make it as social media so often does, a good or bad issue, a black or white issue, a right or left issue. If you do that, and Captain Marvel to some extent does that across the board with its message, although again, please know that I understand why and how. If you do that, not only does it cease to be exciting and cease to be engaging and cease to be something that is a character and a more fully formed representation, but it also lacks any of the nuance and actually ends up informing the anti-negative crowd as much as it informs the positive. Because the moment you say all of these people to the right of this line are correct morally and justifiably and genetically and everything else, and you immediately say that everyone else is wrong because of whatever reason, all you do is enforce the sense of righteousness and indignation and negativity on the other side. Whereas if you have something that's more nuanced and human and evolved and intelligent, without it being all about one thing or all about a message that kind of hits you over the head.
Without it being didactic.
Right, without it being didactic, you're more likely to get more people on board. Now, you're less likely to get people who don't like to watch intelligent movies on board. I get it. You're less likely to get the people who are just interested, like you've said, the studio execs who just want to sell more toys and get more little girls into theaters. I get that. Like maybe you're less likely to get that. But you would have a movie that would stand the test of time rather than a movie that works for its opening weekend. And I know no one's interested in that anymore, but like, I don't know.
You're talking about something that's much bigger than any just one film.
Oh
right?
yeah, completely. I'm talking about current
about modern marketing strategy and trend that we are all in the midst of, and that extends far beyond the scope of just cinema, right? And while and I agree with every single one of your points that you just said, but of course I've got producer logic whispering in my ear and telling me that yes, but we can't. But then it's harder to make a marketing strategy. You see.
Wait, but we used to market move. There used to be blockbuster movies that had Marion Ravenwood in Indiana Jones is an intelligent, feisty, active, heroic woman. But and that was a huge blockbuster. It doesn't like that's kind of what I mean. Like Ripley in Alien, Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, not the new one because that fucking sucked and didn't understand anything. Didn't understand anything about femininity whatsoever, or even female empowerment. It was just so fucking awful. Yeah, let the two guys who wrote Pineapple Express write a fucking Anyway. There were plenty of female heroes throughout movies, not least of which played by the queen of cinema, Pam Grier. But there were female empowered action heroes throughout cinema that didn't have to have a marketing structure behind them that was purely like, hey, Me Tooers, we made a movie for you that's also like a big blockbuster. Come over here and look at this. I don't know.
But also, all you, neck-bearded man babies out there, we made a movie against you, right? So both groups.
Wait, are you calling me a neck-bearded man?
I'm just speaking in general, right? I'm just speaking I'm speaking to them, actually.
This movie wasn't anti-me. I mean, it just wasn't entirely for me, but it wasn't anti-me in any way.
No, exactly. But that's the thing, right? You got if you make a movie, for those people you talk about, or you make a movie specifically tacked against the neck-bearded man babies that I'm talking about, right? Then you get both groups flooding the internet with sincere posts and shit posts, and that is free marketing. That's marketing you can't buy.
No, I get it. It's like the
power of word of mouth, right? It's not word of mouth anymore because we're all connected through these wires. We're all cyborgs, but it's the same principle. Right?
Yeah, it's like the justification for the atrocious modern Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah, it needed an editor. It wasn't so bad.
Is the justification for it is, well, they're all females, and my daughter can go see it and see someone on screen that they relate to, right? That became the justification. And anyone who was against that movie became a horrible bigot, right?
Because several horrible bigots made hours and hours of
100%
about why it was a sign of the destruction of Western civilization, and most of them have gone on to make the same fucking video just
about Captain Marvel. Yes, I know.
Noun changed. Yes. It's
and those people are assholes.
You've ruined my fucking YouTube recommendations from all the research I had to do for this, because now I'm getting recommended. They're bullshit.
No, I just mean
to clean the algorithm out.
Oh no, definitely you have to. Yes, get rid of those people. But we used to look at people and just go, ignore them. They're assholes. And they were assholes, and we let them screen into the void because they were assholes, and we moved on. You know what I mean? And you used to be able to criticize a film based on its bad writing, its bad acting, and its bad direction, and it didn't matter who the protagonist was or who played it. And I'll go one further as well. In general, throughout any art, whether it's books, movies, music, plays, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter who the protagonist is and who plays that protagonist and what color their skin is or what gender they are or whether they're even fucking human or an animated rabbit. If that thing is written well and directed well and has a beginning, middle, and end, audiences go with it because the story tells you who the protagonist is. And the only people who are offended by protagonists of different race or different colors or different genders or different religions or whatever it is, the only people who are offended by that are dumb fucking bigots who shouldn't have been in the movie in the first place. And everyone else goes along with it. But this idea where they're like, well, there aren't enough protagonists that represent this person. I'm like, but that's not the point of a protagonist. A protagonist represents the audience. If it's written well, we can all go with it. I've watched so many films in which the protagonist is not a middle-class English white male. You know what I mean?
Yes. I do. Yes. Yeah. But I've never seen myself in film. I don't exist. Took years.
And I would also add the movies that I have seen with a middle-class English white male in, normally Bumbersnatch, Colin Firth, or fucking Hugh Grant. most of those I've hated. So this idea that I've got to see myself on screen repeatedly is ridiculous, because I'd actually much rather watch a movie in which, anyone but me is the lead.
the idea that any of us have to see ourselves on screen should be ridiculous. But again, if you have no actual power, and let's face it, most of us don't, because we're not rich enough, right? If the political and social system is entirely stacked against you, and the only salve that it gives you in the grinding cyberpunk hellscape world that we all find ourselves in right now is that occasionally, you'll get you'll get that this is the superhero movie designated for you. Like, I'm not surprised that people accept it, that people go for it.
I understand
because
that.
They literally, it's either that or fucking, what I do, like mining headshots in video games, or God, it's all sorts of, unfortunate, horrible other things I could think of. Or it's the day-to-day grind, right? Of iniquity and sin.
I'll say one thing. I think that people have far more power than they actually give themselves credit for, and they have.
Indeed, that is the entire message of superhero media. Yes.
No, but I mean it in reality, right? Because
I do too. Yes.
Voting in general, if everyone showed up and didn't have this attitude of whoever I vote for, the government always gets in. If they didn't have that attitude, things would in general change. Because there's two things: there's voting, and if you don't like who keeps getting in when you vote, run for office, run for any office. If you honestly hate it as much as everyone keeps saying that they hate it, they of course don't. They're just doing cathartic screaming. But if they genuinely hate it, run for office, right? So that's the first. The second thing is this: as consumers, we do have the power, right? And I don't mean the power to go onto Twitter and scream about what we like and what we don't like, although we certainly have that right. We actually have the power to not go and see things en masse that we don't want to exist anymore, or that we are against. And we have the ability as consumers to go see en masse the things we do want to exist. The trouble is with this is that, everyone goes, oh my God, Hollywood is giving a second chance to, I don't know, Bryan Singer, or a second chance to Mel Gibson, or a second chance to whoever. Don't go see the movie then. But they will. They will all go see the movie and make it like this. This is the problem. Is that
make it win an Oscar for best editing?
Right. Yeah, exactly. People talk about the things that they care about. They then use the excuse that they don't have any power, but actually they have plenty of power. I don't go and see any remakes. No remake since Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder one, has got $1 from me. Now, I'm the only person who doesn't go and see them. Everybody else makes them billions of dollars and has put Blumhouse where he is. And that's a mixed blessing. But
Indeed.
But because on one hand, I'm like, great, a studio that's making mid-priced horror movies. We haven't had that in a while. Then I go watch one of them. So it's a mixed blessing. But my whole point is that consumers don't vote with their wallets when they could do. They'll go, if Liam Neeson makes another movie, they'll all go see it. Now, the whole Liam Neeson thing is another story, but in general, like, they will make
people already forgotten about it, man. It doesn't. Right. It's not even going to be a thing. Yeah.
But they will. But that's what I mean is people rail on it on social media, but then still go make these people millions of dollars. And that's my only point is, like, you can vote with your wallet. And on some cases they do. Like the Louis C.K. thing, it doesn't look like he's going to work again anytime soon. And that's totally justified. Consumers have voted with their wallets. And likewise, when he has shown up at the Comedy Cellar, if you don't like the fact that he shows up at the Comedy Cellar, you are within your rights to get up and walk out of the Comedy Cellar. You know what I mean? totally makes sense.
Yeah, they've already got your money at that point. That I don't actually believe in the phrase "voting with your wallet" in itself is like nails on a chalkboard to me. But I do agree with you about the voting and the running, and I'd go one further. As yes, there was that kid who egged the Nazi politician in Australia, and he's my new hero. That's yes, I'd go. Yeah, putting bodies in the streets would be what I'd be for. But then again, I'm for that anyway.
Right, but bodies in the streets is a good communication tool, but it doesn't make a lick of difference unless that communication of that message becomes policy. And the only way it becomes policy is by running or voting.
And by showing up then to shout at the people who you voted for to make sure they don't betray you at the last second. But that's the whole...
that also helps, and people did do that. I did see people do that in across the country when certain bills were up, especially the health bill and other bills. I did see people do that. I didn't see how much change it actually made, but I did see people do that.
Well, we're in a giant fucking holding action at this point, and a great deal of the resistance has been demobilized after the midterm elections, because that's exactly what happened the last time Nancy Pelosi got the speaker's gavel, and is not entirely a surprise. But, you know, it's, yes, we got, yeah.
Well,
shit.
also, we're seeing some of the
we had a year and a half to go.
We're seeing some of the 2020 candidates, and a lot of people have been like, oh, I guess they're going to do it for us. Like, people have already picked their sides, whether it's AC or Elizabeth Warren or whoever. People have gone, oh, okay, she speaks for me. We can sit back and let them do the work now.
Indeed, that's there's the American voter for you. And anyway, it's like how Christmas starts sooner every year. You notice that whole
totally.
strum started exactly as and summer movie season, in fact, starting earlier every year.
Right.
Eventually it'll be like the Christmas that never ends.
Fuck yeah, it's like March and April, and summer blockbusters have already started. I guess because they're now making like 8 a year, they have to fit in, and they're, you know, so it is what it is.
They have to avoid potentially competing with anybody else, right? They're scared.
Oh, fuck it. No, it always, because, you know, I go to the theater once a week with Jim to see movies. And in a week where something like a Captain Marvel comes out, I went to see, I don't normally do that in the main podcast. I normally do that with you. So I went and saw that by myself. And, but the other thing that happened was Thursday night came around, and Jim was like, oh, what are we going to go and see? And I'm like, there's literally nothing else out unless we want to go see Wonder Park, because the only thing they've put up against Captain Marvel is a bunch of kids' animated films, because they don't want any other, you know, mid-teen to mid-20s, you know, generated film to be up against Captain Marvel. So we're shit out of luck. I mean, you know, and then something like Triple Threat comes out, which literally has 6 of the biggest martial artists working today on the planet on it. Sorry, my phone's going off. One of the 6 biggest martial artists working on the planet, and it gets a movie release for one night only. So, you know, I don't know what to say about that either. But.
Right, and it's not even in my town. It's that's actually sad. I'm sad about that.
Yeah.
But hey, you know, hope springs eternal. We'll see. I mean, it's gotta, like, I didn't get fucking the raids until either of them until months after they actually came out. And you'd think I'd be on the right coast, right? If anybody was.
But that's the true bias of things. It's like, it's the way America's always, it's the same thing with the whole certification and the MPAA thing. It's like, it's not about making a rated movie. You don't have to have a rated movie, but no theater's going to fucking play your ass. You know what I mean? Yep. So, but if you have a PG-13, you'll get more bums on seats. So, you know, it's this, I get the free market, but at the same time, sometimes I fucking hate it.
No, because it's a myth. It's a lie. The free market ain't free. There's all kinds of thumbs on the scales. You know, and surprise, most of them have, you know, it's a bunch of dollar signs on tattooed on their thumbnails. Like, you know, or across that first knuckle, basically.
Right.
It's just a whole whole thing. It's the fix is in.
Yeah, indeedy do. Indeedy do.
Everybody, yes, everybody, like the song says, everybody knows.
Yes, indeed. Well, sir, this has been a pleasure, as always, having you on the show. It's always, even if I don't feel like movies are always that intelligent, this has been a fantastically fun, free, and intelligent conversation. And I always appreciate that with you, sir. Also, I am happy to say that catching up on a few movies from 2018 and seeing 3 movies in particular in 2019, I am no longer feeling quite so down about the state of cinema, as I have found some things that have really spoken to me and enjoyed that I've enjoyed recently. So I'm glad about that. But, sir, thank you ever so much for being on the show. And please pimp your stuff and tell people things.
Well, thank you for having me, Johnny. Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. If you'd like to hear more about me ranting about superhero movies, putting my years of ill-gotten knowledge to good use, you can find me at my website, And You Thought It Was Safe. That's AYTIWS.com, where, yeah, I do basically this, but in, a more, slightly more succinct 20-minute video format. So, yeah. Or search for And You Thought It Was Safe on YouTube. I should be the only thing that comes up still. Yes, I'll be the good YouTube movie critic, the only one you actually need. Because, yeah, the rest of them are fakers and perpetrators. And I'm on this earth to diss fools and plot on bets. So, yeah.
And I can thank
you for having me, Johnny, as always. This is always a pleasure.
Oh, dude, it's such a pleasure. I love just being able to be myself and be, because what I love about these shows is, like, you've proven, like, you're nerdy about the comic books, you're nerdy about the movies, and I'm nerdy about the movies, and, like, between us we can just geek out and nerd out on the things that we're passionate about, and I'm passionate about the stories and the way things are presented and society and everything, and you're passionate about the characters and the writing, and it's just great. It's just a fantastic conversation, and I love that. If nothing else, I feel like a good, intelligent conversation is cathartic, so much better than screaming into the void.
Goddamn right. I will co-sign that.
All right, dude. And again, everybody do check out And You Thought It Was Safe on YouTube, because Dave is my favorite YouTube and only YouTube reviewer that I actually watch routinely. So it's true, dude. I don't... everyone else, where I start off and they're like, hey, we're talking about the latest Marvel movie. I just go, right, I'm turning that off.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah, indeed you do. Indeed you do. All right, dude, I got to head out. My lady is coming home, and I've got to go meet her. So I will talk to you again soon, and thanks ever so much for always being on call for a good Marvel chat.
Anytime, anywhere. And Mazel Tov, my good man.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, that was a little bit of a trip back in time to one of those behemoth after movie diner long podcasts. When Jim and I talk over dinner in a diner, it normally only lasts about an hour. We have gone 2.5 hours. We've given you politics, we've given you movies, we've given you social commentary, we've given you actors and directors and the state of the world and everything, all bundled up in an exuberant and, I think, interesting 2.5 hours. Lots of differing opinions, and please, I do hope you will share yours in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on all the podcast platforms that you use, and we will be leaving you with yet another peek at Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures Goes Electric. Just a few songs that I've been kicking about here with my new electric guitar, and I've been sticking them on the end of the podcast. So listen for just 3 more minutes to me rocking out on my new electric guitar, and let me know what you think. You can find all of Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures music over at miskplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. That's misc, M-I-S-C, plumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com, or look up Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures on Spotify. Anyway, thanks as always for listening, and we'll be back in the diner next week. stone. Oh, they've got their reasons and their